I'm Leo Vance and I am 38 years old, a senior architect in Omaha, living in a loft I designed around the silence I craved. The silence shattered on a Tuesday, my phone vibrating against the blueprint. A text from my brother Marcus. Mom's furnace quit. Quote is $6,500. They need it by Friday. My chest tightened. I'd paid for a new water heater just 18 months prior. I typed back, get a second quote. The reply was instant. No time, it's freezing in here. Then a direct message from my mother. Your father is coughing, Leo, please. The guilt, a familiar anchor dug in. For a decade, I'd been the family bank for the old house, for their fixed incomes, for crises that always had a price tag. This felt different. The timing, the lack of a PDF estimate, the emotional push. A chill that had nothing to do with the weather settled in my bones. That evening, I ignored the draft emails in my own life and pulled up the property records for my parents' address. A simple search, the kind I did for clients. The record loaded, and my breath hitched. The house wasn't in their names anymore. It had been quietly transferred to Marcus's name 2 years ago. Around the time he'd started his failed landscaping business. The one I'd seeded with $15,000. Rage was a hot flash, but clarity was the ice that followed. I wasn't preserving my parents' home. I was subsidizing my brother's asset. I spent the night tracing the digital breadcrumbs. My design software replaced by tax assessor portals and LLC registrations. Marcus wasn't just managing their finances. He was their finances. The furnace money wasn't for them. It was for him. The next morning, I didn't call my mother. I called a family law attorney a floor below me, a woman named Sarah with a reputation for surgical precision. I need a consult, I said, my voice unnervingly flat. In her office, with the skyline stretching behind her, I laid it out. The property transfer, the consistent emergencies, the LLC. She listened, then said, You're not their son right now, you're a creditor. And you've been defrauded. I drafted a letter. Not as a son, but as Leo Vance. I cited the property transfer. Listed the total I'd transferred over the years, $84,300, and stated that all financial support was ceased effective immediately. I offered to pay the furnace invoice directly to a verified contractor upon receipt of a valid quote. Then I hit send. The fallout was a symphony of betrayal. My father called, voice trembling with a cough I now questioned. How could you do this to your mother? My mother sobbed about trust. Marcus was the loudest. You're dead to me. You were always jealous. I let the words wash over me. A storm against the foundation I was finally pouring for myself. I drove to their house on Saturday. Not with a check, but with a folder containing the property record and a summary of my transfers. Marcus's truck was in the driveway. The confrontation was brief and brutal. My father sat shrunken. My mother wrung her hands. Marcus stood red-faced. You're kicking them out? He snarled. You put the house in your name, Marcus, I said, my voice quiet in the tense room. I was paying the mortgage on your asset. That stops now. The lies unraveled quickly then. The furnace was a cover for a loan payment Marcus was behind on. The silence that followed was heavier than any shouting. I looked at my parents. I will always be your son. But I'm not your ATM. I left the papers on the table. Weeks later, my father called. A real call. He apologized, his voice thick with a shame I'd never heard. They were moving to a senior apartment. Marcus had listed the house. I felt a hollow ache, but also a profound lightness. I started designing a new project, a small lakeside cabin, just for me. The first blueprint was for a guest room, an open invitation for a relationship built on something new, something that couldn't be bought or sold. The space on the page felt like a promise.